travelled halfway round the world to meet her in person. The one who, after 25 years of practicing medicine, wrote a book called The Medical Mafia and disengaged the system, choosing individuality instead. She was so committed to her discovery that she even went to jail for refusing to pay her parking fines and taxes. She has no passport, ID card or bank account, yet she has everything she needs. Being locked up for months, she became free, forever. Free from the system, free from the authorities, free from all her dependencies and fear. We intended to interview her about the medical conspiracy, but what unfolded went far beyond it.
My name is Ghis, G-H-I-S. I used to call myself Ghislaine Langto. I was a medical doctor for 25 years until I found out what the medical system was all about. And I wrote a book entitled The Medical Mafia. The medical system is sick everywhere. It doesn't work. Everybody's unhappy with it. The patients are unhappy. The government is unhappy. It's too expensive. The doctors, physicians are unhappy. Everybody's unhappy with the system, but it still goes on. So why does it still go on? Somebody must be happy with it. And yes, big money, big pharma is happy with the system. And should it be then that they control it? Yes, they control it from A to Z. You have to know that medical schools, all the media, even the medical journals, the newspapers, the television, radio, are totally controlled by big money. At the beginning of the previous century, in the early 19s, the alternative medicine, natural medicine, was the most important one. There was doctors were practicing, were touching the patients, were questioning the patients, were healing them with herbs, with all sorts of natural stuff. And all this disappeared with the Flexner report.
In 1907, the AMA, American Medical Association, involved the Carnegie Foundation in elaborating a book-length study of medical education in the United States and Canada, also known as the Carnegie Foundation Bulletin No. 4. The author, Abraham Flexner, was an ambitious educator, neither a physician nor a medical scientist, but the brother of Simon Flexner, employed by the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research. Later on, Abraham Flexner became the first director of the Rockefeller philanthropy programs in medical education. Andrew Carnegie was regarded as the second richest man in history after John D. Rockefeller. While Carnegie played a leading role in the American steel industry and education, Rockefeller was interested in oil industry and medical research. Abraham Flexner's report was published in 1910, and the purpose was to improve the quality of medical service by establishing professional medical education based on mainstream scientific principles. But what was accepted as science in the early 20th century? The theory of materialism, rising in the 17th century, holds that the only existing thing is matter. Everything is composed of material, and all phenomena, including consciousness, human soul and spirit, are the results of material interactions. In other words, matter is the only substance. Scientific materialism, physicalism, became the philosophical position of the early 20th century. The main statement of physicalism is that there are no kinds of things other than physical things. When a hypothesis is repeated long enough, it often becomes a fundamental rule of life. It is assumed to be true. The Before the Flexner Report was released, twice as many physicians practiced alternative medicine than conventional allopathic medicine, and medical knowledge was taught in small private schools all over the USA. The report changed everything, and backed by the police power of each American state, medical schools were obliged to follow the trend set by the Carnegie Foundation. The human body belongs to the animal world. It is put together of tissues and organs. It grows, reproduces itself, decays according to general laws. It is liable to attack hostile physical and biological agencies. Herbs, homeopathy, chiropractic and massage were demoted as quackery. Small medical schools were either closed or merged into universities financially supported by industrial companies. In less than 10 years, the number of medical schools dropped from 650 to 50. The number of medical students decreased from 7,500 to 2,500, as they were unable to afford the high education fees. The report included a detailed regulation of medical education and pharmacology as the only solution against dreadful diseases. According to the present-day consequences of the report, no medical school can be created without the permission of government, and medical research adheres fully to the protocols of scientific research. Of the 1910s, materialism, medication and vaccination. Supply of physicians were restricted, incomes of the remaining practitioners raised, and conventional medical schools began to be centralised. In 1997, the WHO obtained full control over medicine as the validity of the Flexner Report was extended worldwide. And what was the long-term result of reforming the medical education and practice? Hardly any news in the media. According to the 2003 medical report, Death by Medicine, 783,936 people in the United States die every year from conventional medical mistakes. This is 16,400% of the victims of September 11, 2001, equivalent to 6 jumbo jet crashes a day for an entire year. $106,000 of the nearly 800,000 cases are from prescription drugs. The United States spends $282 billion annually on deaths due to medical mistakes, or iatrogenic deaths. According to a 1995 US iatrogenic report, the annual automobile accident mortality rate is 45,000. On the other hand, annually, over 1 million patients get injured in hospitals, and 280,000 of these cases result in death. In 2004, the USA spent $1.4 trillion, 15.5% of the GDP, on healthcare. More than 1/3 was paid to the pharmaceutical industry. After 100 years, we must raise the question, what went wrong? Despite the huge amount of money accumulated in the pharmaceutical industry, there are more dreadful diseases and sick people today than ever. You will find the answers in the Flexner Report, a documentation that created and enabled the terms of a centralized medical system and pharma industry to take over control.
I will tell you about my experience, my personal experience as a doctor. When I was in medical school, I didn't know all of this I'm telling you today. And I thought that medicine was the state of the art. I was so convinced. And I was in medical school in the 1965, from 60 to 65, 66. I was convinced that by the end of the century, there would be no more disease. So I really believed in medicine. When I came out, I practiced medicine. I was in specialty, but I practiced medicine. But slowly, I started seeing things that did not make sense. So I questioned. You see, we have to question what we see. If it does not make sense, stop doing it. Stop believing it. You see people, they get chemotherapy. They get so sick with the treatment. I mean, question it. Go and see what's beyond it. What's beyond chemotherapy? Poisons. Well, how can you help people with poisons?
When you give chemotherapy drugs to a healthy person, what's going to happen to them? It's going to make them sick. It's a very toxic poison. It destroys and damages a lot of cells in your body. So how do we think then that we can give those same toxic poisonous drugs that would make a healthy person sick, give them to a sick person and make them healthy? That doesn't make any sense at all.
400 years ago, doctors attempted to treat cancer with heavy metals. Those experiments were unsuccessful and finally ended up in the toxication of the patients. Today, there are 3 common ways to treat cancer symptoms: surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. Chemotherapy refers to cytotoxic agents applied as cancer treatment. Many drugs are found accidentally, and it is said it was the same with cytotoxic agents. In World War I, nitrogen mustard was used as a biochemical weapon, and it was observed that soldiers being exposed to the gas developed leukopenia and lymphoid suppression. According to documents of the University of Iowa, nitrogen mustard is a chemotherapeutic agent still in use, even though there is absolutely no scientific evidence for its ability to extend in any appreciable way the lives of patients suffering from cancer. The theory behind applying cytotoxic agents, toxic materials that interfere with the life cycle of cells, to fight cancer, is that chemo indiscriminately kills rapidly dividing cells, both cancerous and normal. Beside cancer cells, the most rapidly dividing cells are stem cells, gamete, bone marrow, hair follicles, mucosa of the mouth and gastrointestinal tract. This explains the reason why many people undertaking chemotherapy lose their hair, become infertile, or get mouth and throat sores. The mortality rate of patients treated with chemo is 96%. Conventional medicine has many hypotheses about the causes of cancer. None of them have been proved, and all of them are limited to the mainstream trend of science, materialism, excluding the human soul. Chemotherapy is a treatment of symptoms, and patients are dying of it or suffering from its severe side effects. Chemotherapeutic agents applied to treat cancer are declared as hazardous material, handled with extreme precaution, yet become the only cure for cancer when given to people as medicine.
It's the same thing with vaccines. You make healthy people, you make them sick. How can you believe such a thing?
Here's the million-dollar question. Are vaccinated children healthier than unvaccinated children? Because that's really the bottom line. If what they're saying is true and that vaccinations work, then they should be healthier than unvaccinated kids, right?
You got to the heart of the matter. All parents want to have their kids have a procedure, whether it's vaccination or anything, because they want the child to be healthier.
Right.
And yet, you'd think there would be loads of studies showing that vaccinated kids are healthier than non-vaccinated kids. There's not a single study showing that. Not one. There are increasing studies showing the reverse is true. It's the vaccinated kids with autism. It's the vaccinated kids with allergies, with asthma, with neurological problems, with weaker immune systems, with personality disorders, with cancer. Not the non-vaccinated children. Recently, there was a big study on the Amish. The Amish do not vaccinate. There should be hundreds of autistic children in the Amish communities. There's zero.
Medicine is a dogma, and doctors are taught to have faith in the dogma. And that's all. And don't ever question the dogma. Otherwise, you become a heretic, and you're killed. You're out. You're destroyed. So that's the way it works. And you believe the doctors, they went to medical school, they know better than you do. They know how to kill you. That's the only thing they've learned. How to make you sick and sicker and kill you. That's what they learn. And you say, oh no, my doctor is not like this. I have a good doctor. Well, that's separate. You have to take apart the system from the people. People are nice people. They're dedicated. But they are unconscious, unaware that they are serving big money. So this is what the system is all about. It's meant to make people sick if they're not, and sicker if they already are sick. The question is, do you still want to go to the doctor? And people know, they know deep inside that there's big business going on, big machine. This big machine is a business machine meant to make money, and they can only make money if people are sick. And the sicker they are, the more money they make. So it's easy to understand, but they still go to the doctor. So what brings them to the doctor? Fear. Only fear. If you're not fearful, you'll never go to a doctor.
Every year, more than 200,000 people in this country are diagnosed with a brain tumor.
New evidence that they say confirms that people with diabetes have a higher risk of developing colon cancer.
Hi, everyone. This year, nearly 155,000 Americans will be diagnosed with colon cancer, and about 52,000 will die. Cancer of the pancreas is one of the most deadly, and it's often not detected until it's too late.
Each year, about 12,000 women in the U.S. receive a diagnosis of cervical cancer.
I've heard that all men eventually develop prostate cancer if they live to be old enough. Is this true? It is true.
Surgeons, radiation oncologists,
chemotherapy,
Other forms of the disease in the future.
Scare the people to death. Great fear, then you can do what you want.
War on cancer.
Prostate cancer is the most common type found in men. More than 240,000 men will be diagnosed with it this year. 34,000 will die.
So you have to create enemies when you want to keep people fearful. And if you want to control them, they have to be fearful. When there's no more fear, no more control.
Every single age in history has its own culprits. Hell, devil, demons, dragons, and other monstrous creatures that people were afraid of. They have something in common. All of them are invisible to the human eye, either because they do not exist at all, or everyday people simply do not have the chance to verify if their fear is based on reality or not. Since religious beliefs were dismissed when materialism was accepted, the new culprit had to be something scientific as well. Viruses. Bacterias.
So same thing with the viruses, with the microbes. They've been taught that they are dangerous, they are enemies. But now, they're not the only ones believing in enemies. The government tells you they're enemies in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and you have to go and fight them? There's no enemy. There's no such thing. Again, it's division. If what I learned in medical school was nothing but illness, that's all we learn in medical school is illness. Well, what is health all about? And I realized that the only cause for sickness is being separated from the soul. The soul is not governing my life. It is the ego, which has to do with the body that's running my life, that's governing my life. The physical body is a mere reflection, just a mirror for me to see what's going on within myself. The good news is whenever I'm sick, it's a gift. It's a bliss, because it just shows me that something is wrong within. Something is wrong within my either mental body or my emotional body or my physical body. We have three bodies. Very important to know. Doctors know only one thing, the physical body. That's all they care for. All alternative medicine knows that we have three bodies and that those bodies do influence our physical body.
Physicians were always interested in the correlation of our emotions and physical body. Ancient Chinese and Indian medicine, Hippocrates, but also Dr. Bach, Rüdiger Dahlke, and Tepperwein, among many others of the present time, came to significant conclusions by empirical research. In 1981, Dr. Reich Hammer, a German physician, discovered the clear and accurate interdependencies of the soul, the brain, and the organs. He described the biological system of every disease on Earth and named this new scientific system the 5 biological natural laws. He provided the definite answer and proof of our emotions directly influencing the human body and health.
So this is alternative medicine. But we have to come out of this. That's not enough. This is still medicine. But what I propose is go for the real stuff. Go for reality of who you are. And reality of who we are is that we're divine entities. We've always learned that, well, the ultimate authority is outside. No. We created a false God outside. And some people say, oh yes, I'm divine. I'm the son of God. No, I'm not the son. I am divine. Totally. So what are the attributes of divinity, of the ultimate authority? The attributes are immortality, no death. And people say, oh, of course, the soul doesn't die. No, I'm talking of the physical body. When the physical body is under the control of the soul, it becomes like the soul. It vibrates at the same level as the soul. And then it has the same attributes as the soul, which is immortality, physical immortality. Immortal means that I can decide to let go of my body, but I'm not afraid of death anymore. I will not die. If I decide to incarnate or disincarnate, I can do so. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to postpone death for 200 or 400 years or 1,000 years. I'm not going to postpone it. There is none. There is no death. I am totally in full control of my body, should it be the mental, the emotional, and the physical. So I do whatever I want. I am not in the survival mode anymore. Real life is immortality. No death. It's a life without death. No aging. The youth, eternal youth, and perfect health.
We identify ourselves with our mortal body and forget who we really are.
The fear of death is the only fear. Ultimately, if you start digging and digging and digging, at the very bottom, you will always end up on the fear of death. And why is there fear of death? Well, we have a fear of death because we have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten that we are divine entities. And we take ourselves for mortal creatures, but we are immortal. There are parts of myself that are still in the old mode, which means that I'm still getting older, less, but older. But the whole thing is that I don't care. I'm not afraid of what's going to happen. And whatever happens, I know it is perfect. Everything is perfect. I probably will experience immortality during this life. If I don't make it in this time, it doesn't matter, because other people will make it anyway, and I'm everybody. I'm everything. I'm all. So I'm going to make it. We're all going to make it when it happens.
By the propagation of materialism, people were forced into the endless and useless running away from their inevitable death.
In this world of illusion, yes, we were born, we work, we age, and we die. Are you excited with this program? I mean, it's nonsense. It's total nonsense. That's not true, but that's what we think is true. And we feel very depressed. When we're 15, we think we can change the world, we can do fantastic things, we're very enthusiastic. And then as we go by, as the time goes by, well, we see that no, we can't do that. We cannot, we have to earn a living, and then we fall in love, we get married, have baby, then have to work for the family, for the wife and the children, or take care of the babies. And then life goes by, and then the babies get married. We have grandchildren, and then we help them with their children, and we become grandparents, and then we die. What the hell is that?
This philosophy, forced upon us, is the most strange to the immortal human spirit. It is way too far from its true nature.
The power they have it doesn't exist. Again, in this world of illusion, it's a false power. For instance, if people stop paying income tax, there's no more government. If people stop doing business with the banks, there are no more banks. If people stop going to the doctor, there's no medical system. So who's got the real power? The individual. So this is the whole thing. When I realize the real power is inside, then every time I heal a fear, I become this power. I become more powerful. It's vibration. We live in a world of vibration. The only thing that exists are vibrations. It's all vibration. And it's always the higher vibration that is in charge, that controls. So when I reach this higher vibration, the more I reach it, the more not my mind, my soul gets in control of the situation. So it's always my soul running the show. I let it go. Whatever you do is fine with me. We are creators and creatrix, and we create in the present moment every second of our life.
There are two states of the universe, cause and effect. As long as we are unable to take complete responsibility for being the cause in our lives, we will have neither the power over ourselves or over our creations.
The environment we live in is a blessing again. Yes, it's getting unbearable. Everything is collapsing, and it is normal. It is more than normal. I see it as a blessing that's going to force us to change governance, to quit our old ways of seeing things, our old ways of doing things, and force us to move under the governance of the soul completely. And that is nothing less than a new species. So yes, the human species is dying. It's animalistic. It is still under the control of the animal survival mode. And this is what we have to let go.
The stability of Haiti is collapsing. 6 days on and desperation is growing. With resources running out, there's frantic fighting for the little that's left. The streets of Port-au-Prince are filled with lawless looting.
Once again, they came to smash what they could. This time in Enfield. Some had looting in mind.
This is happening, whether we want it or not. It is happening. You can see by yourself that all the systems are collapsing. The family system, political system, legal system, economical system.
We're down 1.7% here, a loss of 37 points.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5%. The stock market is now down 21%. Market deteriorate. We're down over 16%.
Now down 43%.
600-point loss has fallen about 18%.
Life, as most Americans know it, is about to change, in some cases dramatically.
1913, this country died when we adopted the central bank and the Federal Reserve and the fractional banking system. Green dollars are not money. That's fake money that they printed out of thin air. They're using inflation as a hidden tax. And this is all because our government prints too much money, starts too much wars, so they can sell their tanks, their guns, their missiles. Because that's all America exports. Is guns, missiles, and tanks.
Everything is collapsing. Great. Let's let it collapse and move on to the new species. Move on to the governance of the soul. This is where we're heading anyway. It is not an economic or financial or philosophical or social crisis. It is an evolutionary crisis. So the moment we know this, instead of fighting it, refusing it. We go with it. It's beyond mind. It is, so we cannot understand it with our mind. We can feel it, know it with the soul only.
The time has come for the changes anticipated by the wise and seers of the ancient times to come true. The time has come to do away with the mortality of materialism and understand the true nature of our immortality. This is the peaceful inner evolution of the human mind, a brand new level of consciousness.